Hello, my friends. It is a wonderful Wednesday, back for our first week of learning after the holiday break. We have already talked about the sun and the moon this week. We talked about the patterns that the sun and the moon follow. And we know that one of the patterns that they have is that it's day and that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And we also found out that the moon rises in the east and sets in the west as well. So today what we're going to do is we're first going to talk about this lesson, and we're going to talk about adjectives and what adjectives are. And then you have an assignment in your workbook, in your school your workbook, and they are going to be on pages 52 and 53. And we're going to talk about that assignment in just a second. So let's get started on lesson 2. So these are our focus learning targets for this lesson, and what they are I can describe the pattern of light and dark on Earth using information from the book What Makes Day and Night. Now, we're going to read that book tomorrow, but that's one of our learning targets for lesson 2, because we're starting lesson 2 today, and then we're going to finish lesson 2 tomorrow on Thursday. And then I can ask and record. Remember, when you ask questions, you look at pictures and you ask questions about them, your observations. When you record, that's another word for writing down. That's for drawing and writing down what you see. I can ask and record my observations about what I notice in pictures and videos of the sun, the moon, and the stars. And we're just going to be looking at pictures today of the sun and the moon. So let's get talking about adjectives. These are the 2 pictures that we're going to use for our assignment today. The first picture is of the sun. So take a look at it. And also these pictures are going to be posted on Google Classroom, so you could look at them very closely and observe. But right now, let's talk about adjectives. Adjectives, that's that word that starts with an A, are words that describe a person, a place, or a thing. A person, a place, or a thing. What adjectives would you use to describe how the sun and the moon look in these photographs? So just think. And remember, another word for adjectives are describing words. Those would be words like round. And those would be color words like orange, yellow, straight, bumpy. So look at these pictures and start thinking, because this is what you're going to be doing for your assignment today. First, I'm going to show you a poem, and in this poem it's going to talk about the sun and the moon and the stars, and it's going to circle all the adjectives in the poem to help you think of some adjectives about the sun and the moon and the stars. So let's look at our poem. The name of the poem is The Sun and the Moon and the Stars, and this is part 1 of it. In the morning when the day has begun. Okay, I'm going to click it and let's see where we see it, where we see our adjectives. Every time it circles blue, it's going to be an adjective, a describing word. In the morning when the day has begun, I see a round and orange rising sun. So the first adjective is round, because that's describing the shape of it, and orange. That describes the color that it is. During midday, I shade my eyes because the sun looks large, yellow, and bright. Let's see. Large describes the size of it. Yellow describes the color of it, how it looks in the midday. And bright means it's very bright. If it wasn't bright, the opposite of that would be dark. By evening time through the day is not over yet, though the day is not over yet, The sun looks red and fiery as it sinks below the horizon to set. So let's see our adjectives. Red describes the color. Fiery, that's a very good adjective, isn't it? Fiery means it almost looks like it's on fire when it's sinking because it's so bright, especially when you can see it. Today is another one of those cloudy days, so you can't really see it. But especially in the summer, if you've ever gone to the beach, the sun especially looks red and fiery. Two good adjectives. The moon can look different from night to night. Sometimes it's thin and dim, and sometimes it's big and bright. So this is talking about the moon. The first adjective is thin, which is the opposite of thick. Dim, which means very, very dark. It's not very light, because remember, the moon gets its light from the sun. Big is another adjective, the opposite of little. It's very big and bright. So what's this saying is as the moon goes through its phases, sometimes it looks thin and dim, but then other times when it's full, it's big and it's bright. This is part 2 of the poem. I'm going to move my video down here. From crescent moon to gibbous moon, it waxes and wanes. Let's see if there's an adjective in that sentence. Yep, crescent. Crescent is the name of a shape. So when you're thinking of adjective, think of what shape is it? What size is it? What color is it? What other words would you use to describe what you see in the pictures? Each night, the shape of the moon seems to change. The moon can look white or yellow or gray. Let's see more adjectives. Gibbous. Gibbous moon is an adjective too. Gibbous is the description of the moon when it's turning, when it's becoming from a crescent moon, a smaller moon, to the bigger part of the moon where it's almost half. White, remember, white, yellow, and gray are all adjectives because those are describing words. And I almost circled an extra one right there. At night, the stars shine and look so bright. When you're describing something, it could be bright or dark or light, right? Right now, my room's kind of dim. That would be an adjective. They are tiny and twinkly. It's describing the stars and give off some light. Tiny and twinkly are adjectives too. Those are describing words. Tiny means it's very, very small. Twinkly means it looks like it sparkles in the sky. There are so many stars that we can see in the dark sky. The opposite of dark would be a light sky. But at night, if the sky is light, would we see the stars? No, so it's dark. They are far away and so very high. The sun, the moon, and the stars can look different in many ways. Let's see if we have adjectives. Very high. Yes, high describes where it is. It's not low, it's very high. It makes them interesting to observe in a deep gaze. So it's basically saying when you're looking up at the stars, and maybe sometimes you just get so happy to be seeing the stars, you're going into a deep gaze and you're not really thinking about anything else except the stars. Deep gaze. So deep is an adjective. Let's go back through these. Crescent, gibbous, white, yellow, gray, bright, tiny, twinkly, dark, high, and deep. Those are adjectives that describe the moon and the stars. And remember, some of them comes from the sun, fiery, red, bright, round, orange, yellow. So what you're going to do for our assignment today, like I said before, it's pages 52 and page 53. And these are the two pictures you're going to look at. So you're going to look at this picture of the sun, and you can either look at it on the video or I'm going to post these on Google Classroom. And what we want you to do is, what does the sun look like? Draw a picture. You can draw the exact same picture that's up there. Draw and show us what you look like. And then write a sentence using 2 to 3 describing words, adjectives, describing what the sun looks like to you in this picture. And then this is a picture of the moon. So on page 53, you're going to draw this picture, and then you're going to write a sentence with 2 to 3 adjectives describing, with those describing words, what does the moon look like in this picture. You're not just describing what the sun and the moon look like. You have to look at the pictures and describe what they look like in the pictures. So that's what you're going to do today for your assignment, my friends. If you have any questions, please send me a message, and I will see you shortly for our reading groups. Nice to see you, friends. Go ahead and get to work. Thanks.